Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stable School Podcast, live from Cannes. I'm your host, Raza, head of growth at Scroll, and I'm here with Ethan from Ebisu.
What's up, Raza? Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you again. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Ebisu.
For sure. So I'm Ethan, one of the core contributors to Ebisu. It's a crypto-backed stablecoin using a CDP model. We're deployed on Ethereum and coming to another stablecoin chain very soon to be announced. Yeah, that's the high level.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the mechanism of Ebisu. Like, what's the design like?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's a crypto-backed stablecoin, meaning it's the product of an on-chain loan. What users do is they deposit collateral, such as wrapped Bitcoin, EtherFi ETH, or yield-bearing stablecoins like Ethena, and they can borrow ebUSD against that. ebUSD is like always pegged to $1. It's one-to-one redeemable, and the goal is that it's like has deep liquidity and a variety of use cases across Ethereum DeFi. The unique feature of Ebisu is how we set the interest rate for these loans. So the users are setting the interest rate, and there's a mechanism that ensures that the rates are in line with the borrow rates all across crypto. So let's say I open a loan, and if I set my rate too low, I'm exposed to redemption risk. Without going into detail too much, essentially the system penalizes you for setting the rate too low, and always make sure that the system's rate is equivalent to like the rates across DeFi, and that lets us always offer competitive borrow rates without you having to trust the team or any third-party risk managers to set the rates for you. So this is how we differentiate between other crypto-backed stablecoins like MakerDAO DAI, which governance is the one who sets the rate, and it's like mimicking TradFi. I also want to note that what does the protocol do with the interest revenue we generate? We pass it all back to stablecoin holders, and that's how the demand for holding ebUSD comes. It comes from you being able to hold ebUSD and earn the yield that comes from all the borrowers. So we offer great loans, and all of the revenue we get from these great loans goes back to stablecoin holders. That's how the system scales. And yeah, I want to highlight, hopefully we can get into it more, but most of the stablecoins that have product market fit are fiat-backed, and they're controlled by centralized entities that are susceptible to censorship. And while it's less capitally efficient to like have over-collateralized crypto-backed stables, it does serve a need in the market by providing like a decentralized dollar, which I think as the world gets smaller from globalization and things coming on chain, there's entities who are willing to take some trade-off for like a dollar that's not controllable by anybody. So that's why we're building this.
So like you picked Liquity V2 as basically as an architecture to deploy. Why?
So yeah, you're right to identify that this model is based on Liquity V2. Liquity is like an OG in the space. They're the best, in my opinion, they're the best at creating stablecoin that is backed by crypto with as little trust assumptions as possible. So just some history, Liquity V1 launched in like DeFi summer. They get like, I think up to like 4 billion plus TVL, and it lets you mint LUSD against ETH. There were some issues with how they were setting interest rates for V1 that caused problems with the system. So that's why they built V2 with this kind of user set interest rate module. Can go into those problems a bit more later, but it was basically as a result of like interest rate arbitrage. So yeah, their V2 is kind of like what I view as like the perfect way to create a stable coin that is strongly pegged to $1, but backed by nothing that is like nothing that is like related to like banks or something like storing money in like any kind of custody solution. It's all ERC20 collateral, but through their redemption mechanism and through their stability pool liquidation engine, you're able to like maintain protocol solvency and maintain the stablecoin peg with very minimal management from the team. So like, we're a very small team, 3 full-time members, and we're able to confidently offer like a stablecoin protocol that can scale to billions by using Liquity V2's architecture.
So okay, like a bit of a spicy question. So you know, you say that you're a stablecoin.
Yes.
Essentially, what you're doing is you're taking collateral, right? You can borrow against that collateral, and that receipt token is pegged to $1, which makes it a stablecoin.
Correct.
Why would you go for a stablecoin setup? That receipt token. Why do you care that it's pegged against $1?
For sure. This is a great point. Like, and I think it ties into why stablecoin is one of the biggest product market fit use cases in crypto, because crypto is originally the ethos is like to create a system that competes or that is like an alternative to like the world, the current systems of the world. But as more and more we realize, crypto will never be adopted if it's designed to like compete or like take market share from existing incumbents. I think the way that crypto has proven it's going to get product market fit is by complementing and building on top of existing systems. And we live in a world with like dollar hegemony. The world uses dollar as like the standard unit of store of value, medium of unit of account, medium of exchange. All of the world's economics is based on the dollar. So if you're able to transmute the value of volatile crypto collateral into this unit that is like widely accepted by the world, then you're able to take the value that is often locked up in crypto assets like ETH, Bitcoin, yield-bearing stablecoins that are not like easily fungible with dollars, and let that value be unlocked and engage in the economy of dollars, which is huge. Stablecoin yields are the highest yields on chain. Stablecoin liquidity is like the deepest liquidity, the easiest to swap with. So if you have value denominated in crypto and you don't want to sell it, you definitely want to transact using a dollar denomination. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I think that's why stablecoins have been so successful.
So you already like spoke about it a little bit and actually gave it TLDR, but give me like a simplified version of where does the yield come from?
Where does the yield come from? So yeah, crypto is like full of these kind of systems that are relied on subsidized yield from governance token. Like we all know this well. Incentive usually drives the flow of liquidity in crypto for the last years. But more often than not, these systems have not been sustainable. So we tried to design this, like stablecoin is not a Ponzi. It's supposed to be something that provides real value for the world. And in order to fulfill this goal, we need to build a system that's sustainable. Even if the team is not present, even if the team is not able to issue incentives, the system still needs to be able to scale in order for it to be successful. So the yield comes from borrowers who open loans. So let's say I'm a Bitcoin holder and I want to buy a house. I'm going to deposit Bitcoin into Ebisu and I'm going to see, oh, the market rate, the average rate for borrowing is, let's say, 4%, which is like 1% cheaper than the borrow rate on Aave. Okay, let me borrow ebUSD at 4% and mint ebUSD, swap it to USDC, off-ramp it through an exchange and go buy my house. And in the process, I'm paying this 4% interest until I repay the loan. So what I just did in this flow is I have swapped ebUSD to USDC. This is sell pressure on the token, which can cause depegs. So how do we create demand for ebUSD to offset the sell pressure from borrowers? It's through passing the interest from this Bitcoin loan to ebUSD holders who stake ebUSD. So the interest from this loan is going to be going to stablecoin holders, and there can be another user. Let's say Raza is a stablecoin farmer. He said, oh, Ebisu's stability pool is yielding 6% interest because most of the borrowers are borrowing 4% interest, but some of the stablecoins are not in the stability pool. So there's like a yield amplification that goes on, and it's a 6% yield. This is pretty good. I get 6% interest plus stability pool also gives profit from liquidation. I'm going to take this deal. So Raza takes USDC and he buys ebUSD, counteracting the sell pressure from borrowers, and he stakes it in the stability pool and farms this 6% yield. So without incentive, the system is designed to match borrowers who pay interest and likely are going to sell the stablecoin with farmers who buy the stablecoin and who want to farm the yield paid by the borrowers. If that makes sense.
It does. But I'll give you like another, like, I promise you a tough question. I'm going to give you a tough question.
Yes,
I'm all up for more stablecoins. I think that diversifying, let's say, in the ecosystem is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. And you know, different stablecoins will appeal to different kind of people. So in this world where you see so many stablecoins rise, what makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to start Ebisu and like start my own stablecoin?
For sure. So we're like a crypto native team. The team is like full of like DeFi farmers. We farm everything from like MakerDAO all the way up to like Prisma, all these like all these different kinds of CDPs. And we see, okay, there's like huge success for USDT, USDC. Okay, we're not well positioned to like build something that competes in this like fiat BAT world. We see something like Athena, where it's like kind of like a structured product, synthetic dollar. And it's like pretty heavy overhead to set this up. Okay, as a small team, maybe we're not suited to compete here, but we are crypto native and we have seen like the rise and fall of various crypto-backed stablecoins. And besides MakerDAO DAI, which I think succeeds because it's first to market, it has some Lindy, and famously it has a lot of DAI holders who kind of like forgot their wallets and have not touched DAI, which is why it has this monetary premium. Aside from DAI, there's no successful crypto-backed stablecoin. For various reasons, like you can evaluate each one why it failed. So we thought that this is like a perfect market where we as a team have some sort of an edge to solve this problem. Then we see Liquity V2. Wow, this is like a very innovative model. It seems very low lift to manage from an operational standpoint, and has the potential to scale to billions, while still retaining this ethos of like permissionless access, no minimal censorship resistance, stuff like this. So yeah, that's why we chose this kind of specific product space. And I think how we succeed in like the vision of building like a $1 billion crypto-backed stable is through identifying like tailwinds that we can ride to grow this thing, because notoriously like crypto-backed stables are very hard to scale. As I said, only MakerDAO has done it. So one of the opportunities we see on the market is like the rise of a lot of yield-bearing stablecoins. SDAI like pioneered this space. Athena, Go, CRV, CRV USD, Level Money, Cap, Neutral. Like you can name like so many up and coming, super promising yield-bearing stablecoins that are emerging. And a really good use case for like CDP is supporting these yield-bearing stablecoins as collateral and enabling you to take a cheap loan against it to lever up your exposure to these yield-bearing stables. So this is one trend that we are like super excited about, and I think it's a good catalyst for our growth. Very nice for the borrower to borrow dollars against a yield-bearing dollar, because there's no liquidation risk. It's in-kind borrowing. Liquidation risk only happens if the collateral depegs, and that's where like our risk management comes in. But yeah, generally that's one of the avenues for growth. Liquity also demonstrates that like there is demand for borrowing dollars against ETH, dollars against Bitcoin, dollars against these other kind of like hard crypto native money. But yeah, we're kind of straddling both sides of the spectrum where, yeah, we can accept some crypto native collaterals, though this market is already like well captured by Aave, Morpho, Euler, Maker, and then also these up and coming yield bearing stablecoins by offering the cheapest leverage. So yeah, this is kind of why we built this and one of our approaches on how we're going to grow.
So one of the things that you said is that you believe in the ethos of decentralization, and you would ideally see a protocol like this running without like, anyone interfering. But then, to maintain the peg and ensuring that the protocol runs, you got to like rebalance, you have to like intervene. How does Ebisu balance these two?
This is a question that is being like tussled by the industry forever. It's like, how do we reconcile the ethos of decentralization with like the
safeguarding of users and the safeguarding of the asset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So safeguarding is one aspect, risk management is one aspect, but also growth is another. If you have a team that is like has a lot of control over a product, then they can iterate fast, they can change the product, they can do deals, BD, growth. So I think my opinion of what the market has learned from like years is like DAO structure doesn't work, decentralized structure doesn't work for 90% of products, 99% of products. You need one centralized team to manage the growth, to do the BD, and also immutable code and like completely like censorship ungoverned code also doesn't work in 99% of the use cases. Like you need to be able to. So Liquity is like we're standing on the shoulder of giants, but their ethos is full immutability. So the protocol is immutable. They only accept ETH or ETH derivatives as collateral, and that's kind of their niche. And I think from my standpoint, they're betting on the fact that some users will only use product that is like so immutable and so ethos aligned with like this decentralization values. And I do think that there's those kind of users, but I think the market of people who care less about this and care more about like the product doing a lot of cool things and creating value in other ways is way bigger than the market for like decentralization.
Could you argue then that that's product market fit? So if you look at like, right, you're already saying there's an inherent limitation.
For sure.
So if you look at a crypto-backed stablecoin, that you're basically writing the assumption that, more and more people will align with that ethos or be like, okay, I want a crypto-backed stablecoin, as opposed to different kind of financial instruments that basically it's a stablecoin abstracted away for a specific financial strategy or a yield strategy, not necessarily a crypto-backed stablecoin.
Yeah, so it's so
it feels like a conflict.
There is a conflict, and I think it's our approach is a progression. To start, we've taken the opposite approach to Liquity, like respectfully, and the product, like the risk management is done by the team and our risk partners. We have like freeze functions in the case of like security issues. We have made some modifications to the Liquity code base that enables us to be more flexible, to like catch market tailwinds, like add new collateral. Like let's say we strike a deal, like a BD, like the team goes and strikes an incentive deal with a partner collateral, and we are able to list that collateral quickly and manage the risk of this collateral by imposing debt caps, by changing the borrowing parameters. Let's say later down the line, the collateral becomes less risky. Okay, we can bump up the LTV. Like, these are the levers that you need to be able to pull as a team to grow this thing. And stablecoin is like a network effect business. In the early days, it's the 0 to 1, the 1 to 5 is the hardest part. But at scale, once you get some sort of monetary premium, it is adopted in certain places. That is when you can kind of take the brakes off the centralization and transition to a more decentralized approach, which we have built the features to flip those switch when we need to. So we don't believe in decentralization for the sake of decentralization. We believe in decentralization when it provides incremental value to the users. So after we have grown to a stage where the protocol is self-sustaining, after we have done all the integrations that we need to as a team, after we have done all the BD deals that help us get to billions of market cap, circulating supply of the stablecoin, then we can flip the switch. Okay, team can no longer change these parameters. It is governance set. Okay, code is no longer upgradable. It is now immutable. These are the switches that we have planned for. But until we get to that point, we believe in a more centralized approach for growth. But I do want to say, back to the point about decentralization, not for the sake of it. There is value to being decentralized at scale. I believe that let's say nation states or certain kinds of LPs, certain types of users, they do feel more comfortable using a product that the team cannot flip the switch and cause loss of funds. We do have time locks, we have all these things, but if it's just programmatically not possible for us to intervene, I think there is net new users that can come. That is the whole value of Ethereum. Ethereum brings the principal agent risk to zero. When you use Ethereum as a database, you're not trusting anybody, or you're trusting the network of validators, which is the most decentralized validator network in the world. And I think that's a super bullish thing. But yeah, in order to get there, we need to take a more centralized growth approach. That's kind of our philosophy.
So we start accepting altcoins?
So initially, CDP, the risk of all the collateral assets is socialized amongst the stablecoin holders. This is one of the limitations of CDP. So it's really up to us to do proper risk management to ensure that in the case of any kind of collateral issue, whether it be security, hack, or DPEG, to minimize the effect of this kind of issue across stablecoin holders. And that's where our risk management comes in. Yield-bearing stablecoin structured products, there's already enough risk there. I think supporting equity, governance tokens is too risky for the reward. Let's say we support a governance token, it will deter a lot of smart users from using this protocol because backing something with, let's say, a structured product, or backing something with an Athena or maybe a EtherFi, which has restaking risk, you can price this risk, but governance token risk is even harder to price. They're even more volatile historically. So yeah, we're not going to be accepting those as collateral.
So where do you think the biggest opportunity is going to be for Ebisu to become a success? Let me specify that question as well, right? So we spoke a little bit about maybe structuring this question slightly different. Mm-hmm. You said, historically speaking, other than DAI, Maker, crypto-backed stablecoins have not been successful. Looking at all these, let's say, lessons learned from people who weren't able to take it off the ground, what are the lessons learned that you will do different?
For sure. Okay. I think 3 main lessons. First, collateral selection is super important. One, for the reason I just mentioned, the types of collateral you add to the system adds risk. But also, adding hot collateral that are the flavor of the month, that have the bullish tailwind behind them, is also a great catalyst for growth. So as a new kind of lending protocol, we have to balance these. We have to balance the risk of the collateral in the system, but also the potential benefit to the protocol that being a new protocol, adding a collateral first, before other lending markets, that can give us some market share too. So that's one learning. You can see from MIM, or you look at Barra Borrow on Barachain, they have supported some sort of MIM back in the day, support everything as collateral, and they experienced tremendous growth from that. Maybe towards the end, the added risk to the system kind of caused issues. But I think the learning is that you have to have balancing the risk reward of adding new collateral. It can be a very useful growth tool. That's one point. The second point is I think other CDPs, Liquity V2 is the first time in crypto that we see users able to set their own interest rate for these loans. And I think this is a key unlock where the system's able to have an interest rate that automatically adjusts based on the market rates. So it's always offering competitive loans. So that's always driving borrower demand. And the borrower interest is always going back to the stablecoin, which is always bringing some demand to earn the yield from the protocol. So this is like one thing that historically teams have had to manage, and it's been quite heavy. The Fed changes their rate, and then MakerDAO changes the rate, and then the Aave utilization rates react to Maker and the Fed changing the rate, and then you as the CDP protocol, who is smaller than all these other players, need to react to all of these players and choose a rate that you think is fair. But if you set the rate too low, people will sell your stablecoin to do rate arbitrage, causing depeg. If you set your rate too high, no one will come borrow with you. So it's like a very, it was a previously operationally heavy process. And Liquity V2, which has only been like their second deployment, has only been live for like a month. The market is just like kind of still learning how to play with this mechanism. And I think this is like the second learning where being able to use this feature from Liquity V2 is like a supercharge to our growth. And then the last point is like token emissions. Like you've seen some, like at the start, before this stablecoin can be well adopted, it's like a DeFi farm, and we're willing to. We understand this. Like the initial users are the DeFi native users who are heavily swayed with incentives. But incentive is like a very, I think nowadays people understand the incentive game. Like you're paying certain amount of token and you're hoping to maximize the return on investment from this kind of token expenditure. And it's like, it's kind of like customer acquisition, but it's also not, because you're giving them, you're using equity as a form of customer acquisition. So it's very weird. It's a very new kind of concept, but from studying the likes of Euler, using like different bribe markets to maximize the efficiency of incentives, like I think the meta for properly using your token to incentivize growth, but not overspending for growth, not overspending for liquidity and growth such that it has like negative effect on your token. It's one thing that you need to do properly in order to scale. You do too much incentive program spent in the wrong way, token price goes down, and this like heavily stunts the initial growth phase for any like DeFi native project. So I think these are the three lessons, which is like, yeah, leveraging hot collaterals, but with proper risk management, dynamic rate interest rates setting mechanism, and like proper incentive strategy. I think these will be like the things that we need to execute perfectly on in order to grow.
Do you think that it's time to have like a stablecoin that's not pegged to the dollar?
Ooh, okay. So I think,
and I'm not saying that they're not. Obviously, there are many out there, but like the ratio would almost be like 10% to 90%.
Yeah, I think there is. This is interesting. Like, so we're in dollar hegemony world. Like I think most commerce is done in dollar. It's still like the hugest market, but there's already players positioning to capture this kind of like Tether, Circle. I would say like they're like gonna have majority market. I'm not too bullish on like fintechs with not many unique, like without much unique distribution offering their own stablecoin. I don't think they're gonna be able to compete against liquidity that Tether and Circle already have. But yeah, now that those markets are kind of spoken for, what other markets is there? There's like so many there's so many currencies in the world, and if there's an issuer with like a unique distribution to those economies, I think there's opportunity for like a local currency denomination, because there's a lot of big problem. Like let's say you're using USDT because like your currency is like highly inflationary or whatever. There's still like friction in swapping USDC to the cash of your local currency, because it's like not only crypto to fiat, but it's like USD crypto to whatever your local fiat. So I think there could be room for intermediary there. But one of the issues is that what do you pair it against? Like for us, like it's a CDP, we can pair it with USDC on a curve pool, and there's not much impermanent loss risk from providing liquidity to that curve pool. So we're able to scale liquidity as long as we provide good yield to that pool. But if let's say you had a euro pegged, like let's say you have crypto backed euro stablecoin, hard to scale liquidity because not many other centralized euro pegged stables. I think as in Monerium has one, but now you're putting your full trust in that other. Like you need always liquidity for this crypto-backed stable to be useful, and if there's not much other side liquidity to pair it with, you're fully trusting the other side. If you pair it with US dollar, then there's risk of impermanent loss because euro and dollar forex rate kind of is volatile. So yeah, it's kind of like chicken egg problem. I think it needs to start with, before you have crypto-backed alternative peg, you need to have fiat-backed alternative peg. So yeah.
So one of the things, you know, through my conversations, I've noticed is that the emphasis on peg is less and less. As in, like, not there's no emphasis on peg, but there's something like some protocols are running with like a soft peg.
I'm bearish this.
Why?
You're building a dollar, sir. You should be providing dollar.
Are you really okay? Let me lay challenge on that. Are you really building a dollar? Essentially, what I'm seeing is as a vehicle where I can park my money. It sounds good. I get to earn on it. But why do I care that it's like a dollar denominated asset when essentially while I'm holding, like the reason why I'm holding it is the interest rate that I'm getting. Like I'm staking it, so I get like the like the yield from it, and then there's a sound mechanism on where the quote unquote yield is coming from. But
yeah, I see what you're saying. So clarify, there's like three types of users. There's the borrower who puts crypto, mints stables. There's the stablecoin buyer who doesn't have crypto, they just buy it and they farm yield. And there's like an arbitrager who does redemption. Like you mentioned earlier, like if the team is gone, how does the peg happen? We have like inbuilt redemption mechanism that always ensures like peg. So these three kinds of users. And if you're like the second user that you mentioned, okay, I'm holding it only for the yield you're getting paid is in our dollar. So if the stablecoin depegs, you're like earning less yield than you could be because the value of the interest you're receiving is less. This is one issue. Second issue is like for liquidity providers on Curve, if there's like a depeg, we are paired with other stablecoins, and then they will be incurring impermanent loss in the liquidity pool if ebUSD is at like a consistent depeg. And once the LPs know that, okay, this pool, I'm always going to get wrecked on impermanent loss, I'll not provide liquidity here. Liquidity dries up, and then the stablecoin is useless. So I think, at least for our system, ensuring the peg is like essential for growth. One, because the yield is paid in dollars, ebUSD, and also two, like the impermanent loss thing I mentioned. Also for borrowers, if you're going to be putting crypto and you're going to be borrowing, let's say like 500K to put a mortgage down payment, but if it's depegged like a few cents, your 500K is no longer 500K loan, it's less. So those are some issues. I think for like some sort of structured products, maybe where it's like the goal is, to make a concise answer, if you're building liquidity against your stablecoin, like Athena as Athena USDE is pegged to $1 and they like that is a good thing because they're building like other side liquidity on dexes against USDE. But if you're less focused on building other side liquidity and you're maybe like having like a redemption mechanism, maybe the peg is less important. But that's like the more right curve answer. But on the left curve mentality is if the stablecoin is not pegged, I think people won't touch it as well. So
you're basically utilizing the peg as a growth mechanism where you're banking on the fact that people want to hold stablecoins and now they have like the utility or the yield, and that's why you're going for a stablecoin mechanism. Because I would like to challenge you on that. Basically, why wouldn't you go for, let's say, a liquid USD vault, where if you're accepting like, let's say USDE and USDT, DeFi is a mechanism to generate higher yields as opposed to like going for a stablecoin mechanism.
So what is the question?
The question here would be is like your main value proposition, if I understand it, is like the yield that you're providing to the users, or is it like, right? Because you're basically essentially saying, hey, borrow Ebisu USD against like these dollars or the assets, and then on the one hand, someone can go ahead and off ramp and buy that house. On the other hand, the Ebisu USD stakers basically essentially earn the yield by that behavior. You are doing this so that you can provide, let's say, yield towards the Ebisu USD stakers.
Correct. And why not just go into like an EtherFi liquid USD vault or something like that? Yeah, this makes sense. So one side point here that is like less relevant in the short term, but in the long term, like an emergent property of this system is that it creates ebUSD, which is a dollar that is pegged to a dollar that has wide distribution, but is backed by crypto and it's uncensorable. So this is like one value prop, but I'm going to put that to a side because that doesn't matter until the thing is big. But that is one thing that why this system should exist outside of the yield. Okay, but let's go to like the short term. Okay, people don't care about this. They're just farming it for the yield. When I talk to potential users, like it depends on the risk profile of the user. So when you're using a vault system, it can be great because you as a farmer, maybe you're less sophisticated. You want to trust the strategy manager to help allocate your money across these different DeFi protocols. They're going to take a small performance fee, but then they're going to give you back like higher than the market average yield because they're like farming what they think is alpha. So you're putting your trust in the strategy manager. You're putting your trust in the smart contract of the vault, and yeah, it's an easy set it and forget it system, and it may yield higher than the ebUSD rate. That is.
That's potentially
that's potentially one case, and that is like for that type of user. There's some users who, for us, what they're getting exposure to is one, the market's demand to borrow. So if we're entering a bull market and demand for USD leverage is high, you're going to see rates on Aave spike because people are borrowing dollars against their crypto, and the utilization curve kicks in and the rates start to rise. Ebisu's system automatically matches those rates, and Ebisu's borrow rates will also rise, meaning the ebUSD yield will also rise. And so when you're staking ebUSD, you're getting like a very pure reflection of the market's demand for dollar credit, dollar leverage. And plus, on top of that, you're getting exposure to stability pool liquidations. So if there's a liquidation, you're getting paid the collateral from the users. Let's say Bitcoin, ETH, USD. We have Auto Compounder coming soon to sell these collateral for you, and you're getting that at a 5% discount. So you're getting like 5% profit off liquidations, plus the yield from interest. And if this kind of risk profile for a yield strategy is attractive to you, like you can set it and forget it, and you can know that the rate should always match kind of the risk-free borrowing rate in crypto plus liquidation gains, then this is a strategy for you.
So
it depends on the users.
It's a specific target audience you're going after.
Yeah, and I think this, where's the most popular place to park stables is lending in Aave.
Yeah.
Like the market has demonstrated that they view it as kind of like money market of crypto, and I think
also just feels safe.
It feels safe, and we're like us as a protocol. It's yet to be seen, but like at scale, I think our yields can even be higher because we are not taking a fee on the spread. Like Aave, the borrowers pay, let's say like 5%, and then the lenders earn like 3%, and Aave is taking that spread. For us, we're transferring almost all of the yield back to the stablecoin holders. That's one way that the yield is higher. And the second way is that not all of stablecoin holders are accessing this yield. The more and more external use cases for the stablecoin, let's say we can have a lottery using ebUSD to play, a prediction market accept ebUSD as betting margin. Different index protocols or different vaults are using ebUSD as deposit asset. Euler markets, you can loop ebUSD with staked ebUSD. All of these use cases they're not earning the protocol's borrow rate. The more stable coins that are in these external use cases, we have a yield amplification. So you can have even a case where the borrow rate is like, let's say 2%. But if so many stable coins are used externally, the yield on ebUSD can be like, for example, 10%. That is because only like a very small handful of ebUSD people will be staking, and they'll be earning majority of the yield. So that is the end goal, where we have a lot of distribution for Ebisu stablecoin because it is like a decentralized dollar that's has different properties than other stables, and as a result, the yield amplification is there. So, yeah, I think there can be periods where managed vault yields are higher, but I think there's different risk profile to those strategies. But I'm bullish those. I wish ebUSD can also be one of the strategies within those yield vaults. Like,
yeah, I definitely think that as a destination, I think that the next part of the next part of growth, and we'll talk about it, is like creating as many destinations for Ebisu USD obviously to be used. And so we're coming near the end of our episode, but I do want to ask you like a few more things. One, cross-chain, you already alluded to it. I'm guessing you won't tell me the name yet.
We can leak it for the stablecoin.
It won't come out like right now. This is like we're in the future.
So we're also running a second deployment on Plasma. Nice. It's not the same ebUSD. It's a separate deployment, separate collateral, but there will be synergies between the protocols. It will be under one token, one team. That's what I'll reveal there in terms of cross-chain. But we chose Ethereum because the TAM is the biggest. There's the deepest liquidity for collateral assets and also the deepest liquidity for stablecoins. I think we're not going to be focusing on building use cases for ebUSD on L2s and whatnot until we have like successfully penetrated Ethereum market. Same thing with Plasma. We view it as like as a bet on like the big TAM, a potentially big TAM of like real world payment users coming to this chain to do payments, and us being able to offer those users credit solutions. Like What if there's an ice cream seller using Plasma for payments, and we can offer them the inventory loan for next month's milk? That kind of thing. This is like a net new user to crypto that we're aiming to service by.
You keep saying that, and I keep hearing that in your story. You're really coming back to real world. You keep coming back to real world. Is that what drives you? Like you keep saying, buy a house, fund the supply chain.
Yeah, I think for any, like, bro, you have been in crypto also a long time, and everyone has been focusing on like extracting value from this limited pool of capital that we have in crypto. And I think one, it's tiring. Two, the market is very cynical towards all these is very cynical to right now as a result of this kind of like extractive and like circle jerky kind of behavior. And I think the only way to break free from this cycle is to bring in some sort of net new demand for the system. And I'm building this. We're all in crypto, hopefully, because we think that this tech is useful for something. And it's your job as a builder to find a market that you can service and create value for. And I have a strong belief that like value can be created for real people. It's just the systems are complicated, and it takes a little bit more effort to get there. DeFi native guys, they're willing to take all like the UX friction, all the BS to get some alpha, sure. But I think that era is like we're slowly exiting that era where, yes, DeFi native liquidity is always going to be your first user. It always matters, not to neglect them, but you're really going to become $1 billion protocol by tapping into real world. So yeah, the ice cream seller is a nice example. The mortgage is a nice example. And it's not that it hasn't been proven. People, if you go on YouTube and search, like I bought a house with Liquity, people buy house with Liquity loan against their ETH. Like it's not unheard of. It's just a very high friction process. And we're working on some things to, such as like off ramps, like card, a mobile app, to make this like a more seamless process. But yeah, regulatory tailwinds are also in our favor here.
Okay. Wrapping up, I kind of want to ask you, like, where do you envision like Ebisu to go? We said like no shilling, but I'm getting excited because I'm actually giving you the hardest time of all the episodes, and I'm liking how you like catching all these things. And so I'll tell you this, I'm definitely bullish on you, but where do you see where do you see Ebisu going? Where do you want Ebisu to go?
Ooh. So team has been really focused on like crypto native growth to start, capturing market share on Ethereum by competing against incumbent lending markets and setting us up for capturing a lot of the unallocated liquidity that's going to be on Plasma day one. This is like our immediate term focus. But after that, we are thinking like, okay, how can we bring in these like net new users? We are a crypto-backed decentralized stablecoin that works as kind of like a lending protocol. What kind of value can this create for a normal person? Some of the use cases that I'm excited for. So if we can offer a savings rate that is compelling enough, like it's competitive with the market, but it's also has this property of being like crypto-backed and not related to like censorship susceptible entities, I think it can be like a killer savings product for the world. No matter where you are, no matter what country you live in and what vendettas your government has, if you're having dollars and it's like a stable dollar that's earning great yield, this is a great savings product. So thinking about how we can get this product into the hands of real people, this is one thing. I think like checking account is the biggest scam known to man. You're having money in the bank and it's devaluing relative to inflation and they're not paying you any yield. On the other hand, they're lending this money out and like earning a lot of yield for themselves. Morpho has like shown that by integrating like savings product with lending, you can like earn like this 5% risk-free yield up until the point that you pay. So having savings product integrated with some sort of payment solution, this is one goal. I think mobile is the way to do this. And I also like this idea of riding like a lot of my friends are like brain rotted. Like everyone is like trading memes, or even the Web2 friends are sports gambling, whatever. I think you need to build some sort of, within this kind of like savings product, payment product for the real world, you need to build in some sort of gamification aspects that give the user the dopamine hit that that their brains have been conditioned to. It's just like a symptom of the modern day man. But you need to do it in a way that's like not financially destructive. Like somehow offering the buzz of gambling, but using it as like a lure for like financially healthy behavior. I think this is like one aspect of hyper gambling speculation crypto that is like underexplored, like a net positive gambling. One example here is like zero loss lottery, like letting someone have incentivizing someone to put money in a savings account and saying, oh, there's a chance you could win like a 1 million weekly lottery just by putting the money in. And the lottery is paid out from the yield of all the people who, like, you clip a fee off the yield and you use that as a lottery pool. This is one idea, but we're cooking some stuff here. These ideas are just like down the road because, as I said, our focus is crypto native to start. But yeah, and I think Plasma, the last thing I'll say is like the market cap for credit instruments in the world is 3 times the market cap of cash. So you look at Circle, you look at Tether, and look at their tremendous success. Even if they captured the max market cap, which is like they tokenize all the treasury bills in the world, the market cap for like a longer tail credit is 3 times this market size. If you believe that assets will continue to come on chain, then they can be used as collateral for loans. And if you consider more people will come on chain for like business use cases, like for payments, that's like through venues like Plasma, then these users will already have set up with like account extracted wallets. They're already going to be comfortable, and also like compliance enables them to interact with like crypto native systems. I think offering credit to like the world, but rebuilt on the blockchain, that's like the opportunity that's 3 times the size of payment stablecoins. So to start, we're doing like loans against crypto assets, but eventually there's going to be no difference between like crypto assets and tokenized RWAs. It's all just going to be ERC20s that are on chain, and like positioning as, in a way to serve the need for credit that will inevitably emerge by more things being tokenized. I think this is like the 1000x vision for Ebisu. The example of like the ice cream guy on Plasma is kind of like just the first step. Like, okay, first you get a real world business comfortable with doing their like next month loan in an on-chain manner. And then eventually you can expand like under collateralized lending, you can expand to longer tail credit. But I think yeah, that is one thing that all these DeFi people are excited about. It's like serving the market, serving the world's demand for credit as the economy becomes tokenized.
I don't know about all DeFi, but I definitely feel your excitement. And Ethan, I'm so glad we had you on.
Thank you, Reza.
Once you're like fully up and running, we'll have you back, and then you need to like tell us what's next.
Yes, sir. I'm excited too. Thank you for hosting. We're live in private beta. You can follow us Ebisu_finance, and yeah, doing some sort of like initial user testing, initial liquidity bootstrapping. So reach out if that interests you. But yeah, I'll be excited to come back and share once we have some more things cooked.
Thank you so much, Ethan.
Yeah, thanks, Reza.